The Life of Reason, George Santayana, 1863 to 1952. Reason in Society. Reason in society follows the course of man's ideal attachments from the passionate love of a man for a maid. I know this is written a bit rather from a male point of view. It works for women, I suppose. Although I've often thought I'd like to just stay at the phase of passionate love for my fair maiden. Anyway, where was I? Reason in society follows the course of man's ideal attachments from the passionate love of a man for a maid to the fancies of a man of taste, and finally to the devotions of a saint. The instincts which unite the sexes bind parents and offspring and draw the lonely from their isolation into tribes and cities when illuminated with the flame of consciousness, take on ideal dimensions and give rise to love, loyalty and faith. It is the mark of love to combine impulse and representation, and no one who has truly loved can be entirely deaf to the voice of reason or indifferent to the liberal life towards which it calls. Santayana groups societies into three classes. The first, which he calls natural societies, includes not merely the family, but economic and political groups. In these, association is more instinctive than voluntary, but they serve reason well when the regimen that they prescribe becomes the means of fashioning strong, reliant individuals who, without disloyalty to their origins, form free societies based upon mutual attachments and common interests. Such persons in possession of their wills may go further and create ideal societies, which is what we do when forsaking the company of men. We make beauty or truth our companion. In its social expressions, perhaps more than anywhere else, reason has to draw the fine line between crude fact and irresponsible fancy, somewhere between the shrewd materialism of Sancho Panza and the lofty madness of Don Quixote. There is a way of living which incorporates the ideal in the actual, whether in love or in politics. Therein lies the liberal or free life for man. Reason in religion. Reason in religion develops a view which is perhaps as characteristic of Auguste Comte as it is of Hegel, that religion is a halfway station on the road from irresponsible fancy to verifiable truth. It is neither to be rejected out of hand as imbecilic or superstitious, nor rationalized and allegorized until it agrees with science. In the story of human progress, it fulfills a civilizing function, but under serious disabilities, for although it pursues the same goal as reason, it relies upon imagination instead of logic and experiment. On the positive side, its occasional profound insights into moral reality have spurred mankind to needed reforms, but this gain is offset by its stubborn adherence to an anthropomorphic view of nature which closes the way to systematic advance. A lifelong student of the religions of the West, Santayana illuminates his theme with detailed criticisms of the major religions, the major traditions. The Hebrew religion gets high marks for its wholesome emphasis upon morals, but is censored for its dogmatic and intolerant spirit. The Christian gospel, which dramatizes man's efforts to transcend his nature, is an important step toward the goal of freedom, but it needs to be blended with pagan ritual if man is not to lose sight of his moral dimensions. Along the Mediterranean shores, such a paganized Christianity developed, but it remained strange to its converts in the northern forests. Gothic art, philosophy, and chivalry are by contrast a barbarized Christianity and have as their proper motif the native religion of the Teutons. This it was that, coming of age, threw off the world-denying gospel and emerged in its proper sublimation, first as Protestantism, then as Romanticism, and absolute egotism. Less mature and further divorced from reality than Catholicism, Gothic Christianity lingers on in various idealisms, moral, political, philosophical, obscuring the path of reason. Reason in art. Reason in art is broadly conceived to include every activity which humanizes and rationalizes objects. For Santayana, with his classical bias, artistic activity consists in imposing form upon matter. Like religion, art is preoccupied with imagination, but its concern is more wholesome because instead of mistaking fancies for fact, it fashions facts according to its ideal preferences. Thus, each genuinely artistic achievement is a step forward toward the goal of rational living. Man's earliest constructions must have been clumsy and unprepossessing, not even rivaling the spontaneous products of nature. Compared, for example, with the prancing of a stallion, the movements of a savage in his dance are crude and ridiculous. I'm just the messenger here, by the way. But when art frees the dance from the excitement of war or courtship and makes the intention its study, a new form of discipline and social control appears which purges the soul, so man tames his own spirit and gladdens it with sights and sounds. The advance of civilization is not always friendly to free creation. Customs, acquiring almost the force of instincts, stifle invention, and products have a way of enslaving their producers. A society which looks upon art as a truancy from business condemns the artist to vagrancy and robs his genius of its normal incentive. It has entered a post-rational phase because it has lost touch with man's genuine needs. Art is no mere pleasurable accessory to life. Man is engaged in liberal and humane enterprise in the measure that, transcending his animal needs and vulgar ambitions, he becomes the master of the conditions of his existence, visits on them his kind of perfection, and renders their tragic aspects endurable by clothing them in intelligible and regular forms.